Hello, my name is Lina Archbold. Welcome to my studio, Lina Archbold Textile Art and Design, and I also run online textile and felt making school, Felt with Lina. And today I'm going to talk about Margilan silk. Margilan silk, which becomes super mega popular with us felt makers. Where Margilan silk comes from? It comes from Margilan, which is a city in Uzbekistan. That's the center of production of Margilan silk. Not just silk which we know, which we've been using for felt making. Uzbekistan is famous by their Han silk. Han silk translates to king silk. Why? Because going back to Tsar time, before revolution, that silk was really mega famous because that silk was used by kings and queens, by tsars, by rich people, creating very beautiful clothing. Uzbekistan has a specific pattern which is very difficult not to recognize. It's a famous signature for Uzbekistan. But today we're talking about silk which is used by us in felt making. Han silk is thick silk, expensive silk, has beautiful patterns. It's made in white color, but it's very valuable by not just the quality of silk, but patterns. And what about silk which we use in felt making? First of all, there are two factories in Margilan. One is modern factory, which is computerized, and this factory produces around 2.5 kilometers of hand silk every day. Another factory which was built in 70s, it's called, I need to check because I can't even pronounce, Yodgolai. I'll put the name. This factory is still using traditional methods of creating silk, and it employs around 450 people, mainly women. This is where hand-woven methods still used, ancient methods still used. Okay, and that factory makes different types of white silk and colored silk, and that factory makes silk which we use in felt making. Also, this silk, and I mentioned which type of silk mainly used, made by nearly every family in Uzbekistan. In Uzbekistan, people make this silk in their kitchen. They have equipment, mainly hand-woven, where they make silk. This is how many families make living making silk. This silk then bought by people, by middleman, who then sells this silk to others. The people who make silk in the kitchen, they also sell on the markets. My silk come from factory in Uzbekistan. That's why quality is consistent, because the silk which made in the kitchens, there is no quality control, and that's where a different thickness comes for the same type. So, what different types of silk I sell, Margilan silk, and what become popular in felt making. The most popular silk is Rarified. This is the silk. It is so light. Okay, Rarified silk is around 7-8 grams per meter. That's the weight. This silk can you see that can be moved? Don't know how much you can see, but if you walk with this silk, you know, even when you touch that silk, threads start to move, okay? Silk, Margilan silk, has totally different techniques to many silks produced in different countries. Why? Because for Margilan silk, they do not twist threads for fabric. That's one of the reasons why wool loves this silk, because it comes through threads, silk threads, so easily. Dyes love this silk. That's where you create really beautiful, let me to show you, vibrant colors. I have tutorial online class which is free, how to dye silk in microwave, and the simplest just in hot tub. Okay, a tub with hot water. So this is really, look at this vibrant color. Look at this patterns created using medium print technique. Look at this, like galaxy. Look how vibrant these colors. Very easy to dye, very easy to felt. So let's talk about Rarify silk. There is one issue. Every seller seems using own terminology for this silk. I use terminology which is used by factories in Margilan. Rarified silk is the right name for this, the silk which is the lightest silk. Okay. The history of Rarified silk. This silk been produced, I cannot tell how long it goes. I guess as long as Silk Route exists. This silk was popular in last century and was used not for sewing. The major use was for restoring icons and old paintings. There is a technique when if painting of or icon start to crumble. So what how they use this, using special glue, using this silk, they were gluing all to the painting or icon. The silk would just disappear, but it would into the artwork and hold everything together. You can do more research if you want to learn more about how Margilan Rarify silk was used in restoration. Another use was in theaters, creating that fog effect on stage, and then people started to call theater silk. So it was called restoration silk, then theater, and now for quality, because of the quality of the silk or movement of threads, it's called Rarified silk. Rarified or разряженный silk. That's non-English name, okay? Rarified silk comes into width 90 centimeters. Often they say plus minus few centimeters, okay, and 120 centimeters. 90 centimeters is great if you're making smaller items. 120 centimeters is perfect if you make garments. So what's the use of this particular silk? So many different. One of them, it's called laminating technique. Basically, you put wool and then silk on top, you laminate wool with silk, giving beautiful, beautiful, not texture. This one does not give much texture. It gives beautiful finish. Let me to show. First of all, this waistcoat. This waistcoat, can you see on this side, I created using this silk. So it's a black wool. So I use a gray and yellow silk. So black comes through yellow, given different colors. I can't say dirty yellow, it just creates that particular color. So what I want to say, so you can play with colors of wool and silk, achieving different effects, because color wool will come through Rarified silk. Rarified silk, if you work with Rarified silk, it does not give you textures, it gives colors, it gives finish. It just adds shine to your work, add luxury finish to your work. Shrinkage is not as great as if you use thicker silk. There is a rule. Thicker silk gives more textures and more shrinkage. I mentioned names. Different companies sell this silk under different names. I came across Rarified, which is correct. I came across Butterfly. That's just company created name. This is the same silk. And also people call gauze. This is not gauze silk. So please double check if you're buying from different suppliers, what silk they sell. I sell as Rarified, and I sell Rarified silk in 90 centimeters and 120 centimeters. There is one disadvantage of this silk. You cannot tear this silk. If you need, for example, this is 90 centimeters silk. If you need tear in half, no way you can do that. You cannot tear Rarified silk except of Excelsior. What to do? The best way I know, the way I do, if for example I need to cut this 90 centimeters in half, I fold that together, put on my iron board, I iron this line in the middle or where you need to cut, then I cut. I can see this line and I cut straight line. This is one of the tips how to work with Margilan Rarified or gauze silk. You really can't tear Excelsior, however, I prefer to cut too, so to eliminate any damage to the silk, because sometimes line goes like this, okay, when you tear that silk. So this is Rarified silk, super light, beautiful silk for lamination. This silk also used for technique. I call this stained glass technique. I do have online class on this called stained glass technique. Nuna felted scarf. This is great because, can you see, we felted, we did layout, leaving some pieces of silk. okay, then it gives you like cobweb, right? So this is another use of the Rarified silk. I created this scarf ages ago, super long as well. I left lots of silk exposed, okay. Some people say do not leave lots of area of Margilan Rarified exposed. I did. What can happen? First of all, after the silk went through felting process, strange, still going through felting process. Yes, I mean, we have wool, but what I mean here, where area left, it's kind of changed texture, okay? It start to open up in some places, closing in other places. It does give this natural effect. See what I mean? You don't have consistency of weaving. It's still strong. It's super strong. You cannot make hole unless you get scissors and cut. And threads would not move as much after that felting process. So yes, you can leave Rarified silk like I did here. Look, just put wool in few places like that, okay? And I just check if I cut from both sides. Oh, it's just shrunk. No, it is 90 centimeters width of the silk. That's Rarify silk. Check. How else you can use? Actually, another use. So many uses, and I'm looking forward to see how we use Rarify silk. Here, can you see? In my jumper, I add Rarify silk in some places. In other places, I add fiber. This is another online class on lace top. Lace, I think it's called lace felted top. So you can create this scarves in this technique, variables, clothing, the same like here you could create top in this technique, summer top, right? This is how to look, and this is how this looks. What else I want to show you? This one, interesting. Can you see? This is what I mean. Look, when, just a second, that's, okay. If you look here, can you see what a beautiful finish here? It looks luxurious finish. And then I left, can you see, I left silk exposed here. What do you think? That's another of my classes is, I forgot the name. I think it's cobweb with fleeces. It just was a variation. So that's, look, how light that, can you see how soft when you walk with silk. Margilan Rarified silk. Another type of silk, gauze. Gauze slightly heavier than Rarify, and its weight, if I remember correctly, around 12, 15, up to 15 grams per meter. So gauze silk is thicker, still has the same finish as Rarify. Margilan silk is famous by their finish. It's luxurious, it's quite shiny. It has like pearl effect if you look closer. So Margilan gauze, very great, very good for felt making, for dyeing, for ikat printing. This is good silk. It comes in 3 different ways, and I am proudly saying, I supply all. It comes 45 centimeters, 70 centimeters, and 90 centimeters. So why I decided to supply all three? 90 centimeters is great for clothing, felting clothing, for sewing, for dyeing, for scarves as well, if you cut in half. 70 centimeters, I found 70 centimeters as perfect when you create shawls. It shrinks more than Rarify Silk. But again, it depends on felting technique you use, depends on layout, etc. And another, which has become super popular with my customers, 45 centimeters. And that's what I have on my table, 45 centimeters with greatly finished seams. Look at that, ends. This is great for scarves. Either you cover completely with wool. Here, an example. Perfect. By the time, with my measuring tape, oh yes, I have measuring tape. So it was 45. By the time we covered, we have is 32 centimeters, okay? Again, depends on layout of wool. You can actually achieve less shrinkage if you put wool in direction of length, okay? So this is an example of when we cover silk completely. So silk on this side, and we have different embellishment on this side. And for example, this one, look, we left a lot of exposed silk here, right? Look at that. So, and look at this color, how amazingly dyed and how easy to dye. So easy to dye this silk. So this silk can be used again, as I said, in creating felt-making garments, tops, dresses, jackets, and scarves, shawls. Shawls, I offer 70 centimeters width. Then you just don't need to cut anything and you achieve good size shawl, okay? How my silk comes, all silk comes from factory, carefully measured. Gosh, where's that? And, okay, let's say, and by meter. So if you buy, for example, 20 meters, it's not a roll, it comes like that. And then it's so easy to work with it because you know this is 1 meter and you just count 3 meters or how many meters you require. It gives a little texture, not as much as thicker silks, but still does. You can see texture here, okay? And let's see what else I have to show you. Red. Look at texture. It's very gentle texture, okay? You have texture, but it is gentle in comparison to thicker silk. That gauze silk. The next type of silk, sorry, it's quite crinkled, this one, is Excelsior. That is the thickest silk. It's the weight around 20 grams per meter, okay? This silk, thicker, it reminds of finest ponch silk, but it has more luxurious finish to the silk. Easy to dye, easy to felt, comes again in 2 different ways, 45 centimeters and 90 centimeters, and gives more texture and shrinks more. So let's see, let's see on this one. You can see the difference. Look, This is Rarify Silk, and this is Excelsior. That silk gives you more texture. Can you see that? More texture. That's more like embellished into the wool and just gives some luxurious look. Okay. The same here. If you look, so what we have here, this is Rarify Silk, this is Rarify Silk, okay? This is, this is Excelsior. I thought I said something wrong. This is Excelsior Purple, okay? And this is Rarify Silk. Tip number 2 for you. When you work with patterns like here, and thicker silks might have issues to felt on edges. So if you look here, on top of edges of Excelsior silk, I put Rarified silk. So Rarified silk will hold thick silk edges and everything will felt. Okay. What else about Excelsior silk? Easy to dye in microwave. Great for printing, ICA printing, botanical printing. And great for sewing projects as well. So that's type number 3. The next silk type is Arganza. What is Arganza? Arganza is a stiff material. It is stiff silk. Why is it stiff? It is stiff because it does not go through the final process. Other silks like Rarified, gauze, Excelsior, in our case, and in case of other silks, go. Okay, so it is stiff, and the final process, boiling and whitening, perhaps. I actually am very sorry, I don't know exactly precise process of making silk. Something on my bucket list to learn. So Arganza is stiff material. From Margilan, it comes into thickness. Arganza Rarified or Arganza gauze. I do only supply Arganza Rarified thickness. So that's why in my online shop you just see Arganza. If you compare, this is Arganza Rarified with with Rarified silk, you can see the difference in color. Okay, this Arganza is off-white color, or how can I say, creamy color, in comparison to other silks which I sell. So please bear this in mind, and in description I say it is off-white. Okay. What Arganza used for? Arganza used for if you want your garment to keep shape because it's stiff. It is interesting when you leave lots of silk exposed and just do some pre-felts ornaments, then silk will stand if we're talking about scarf. You can use for felting garments, like I said, where you need to keep shape. For example, skirts. Where else Arganza can be used to achieve textures. Arganza comes in waist 90 centimeters. Okay. That's all I wanted to share with you about Margilan silk. And don't forget, I do sell this silk, and as I mentioned, in different types and different ways. I also have quite a few online classes where we use this silk, where I teach how to work with this silk. And don't forget, I also have free online class how to dye Margilan silk using easy methods. Okay, that's all about Margilan silks. Please check my website, linaarchibald.co.uk. I sell silk from this website. I also have links to my online classes, to my online school, Felt with Lina. Thank you so much for attention. I'm really looking forward to see what you create. Please share with us. Thank you. All the best. Goodbye.